Machiavelli said that power and desire share the same root: control over other people's emotions. Seducing a woman so easily it feels almost illegal isn't about looks or luck. It's about strategy. It's a mental game where silence is worth more than words, and mystery is worth more than appearance. The man who controls attention controls desire, and the moment she tries to figure you out, she's already trapped in your web, without even realizing it. That's how the man seduces, the man who understands the Machiavellian art of love. Seducing a woman so easily it feels illegal doesn't start with words, or beauty, or money. It starts with a deep understanding of her emotional blind spots, those invisible corners where logic doesn't rule. And if Machiavelli were alive today, he would smile at how predictable the human heart really is. There's no magic here, only psychological strategy applied with surgical precision. The woman who swears she's unbreakable, the one who says nobody can manipulate her, the one who claims total emotional independence always has a hidden entrance, a crack in the armor, one she doesn't even know exists. And that's exactly where the Machiavellian seducer plants his first seed. It's not about making her fall in love. It's about directing her attention toward you so subtly that she believes it was her own idea. The first principle is simple. A woman doesn't fall for the man who chases her. She falls for the man who emotionally disrupts her without giving her a clear label for what she's feeling. She becomes obsessed with what she can't understand, with what she can't control, with what makes her feel certainty and doubt at the same time. Your mission is not to show interest, but to calibrate it. Give her a drop, then pull back the whole jar. One sentence that suggests something, followed by 10 minutes of silence that her mind fills with fantasies, theories, insecurities, and curiosity. Attraction, contrary to what naive men believe, is not built through excess. It's built through controlled absence. It's not attention that starts the fire, it's the interruption of attention. Machiavelli would say a man must learn to be both, the fox and the lion. And in seduction, the fox wins. Your role isn't to display brute strength, it's to display hidden emotional intelligence. No quick declarations, no desperate compliments. She needs to feel like you know something she doesn't, that your eyes carry an extra layer of meaning, that your smile hides a story, that your silence weighs more than other men's words. That mystery isn't something you simply have. It's something you create through controlled management of your presence. And here's the most illegal mechanism of all. Make her feel like she's discovering you. Don't hand her your essence. Give her incomplete pieces. Women connect emotionally when they feel like they're successfully reading someone. If you open up completely, there's no game, no mystery, no challenge. But if you only give selective fragments, a nostalgic line you don't explain, an emotional scar you mention without context, a talent you show only once, she will start building an idealized version of you. And she will build it with so much dedication that she eventually believes she knows you better than she really does. Machiavellian seduction isn't about showing your best version, it's about allowing her to imagine the version that attracts her most. A woman's imagination is more powerful than any concrete action, because what you imagine is always more intense, more perfect, more addictive than reality. Your job is to control the stimulus, so her imagination does the rest. The man who controls a woman's internal narrative controls her desire. But to reach that point, you need to practice the strangest behavior for normal men: absolute calm. Most men rush. They give too much. They lose control at the smallest sign of female attention. You'll do the opposite. When she gives you attention, you won't receive it like it's a prize. You'll receive it like it's normal, like it's coming from someone who is still being evaluated. That psychological reversal confuses her. She's used to seeing men impressed by her. She's not used to having to impress. And when you make her feel that, without arrogance, without excessive coldness, just with calm confidence that feels natural, her mind starts orbiting around you. The key is not to show neediness. You don't have to be distant, just not dependent. You don't need to be cold, just strategic. You don't need to be perfect, just unpredictable inside a controlled pattern. A woman doesn't stay for what she understands about you, she stays for what she doesn't understand. It's the void that ties her, not saturation. And when you place yourself in that space, between clear and confusing, between present and absent, between accessible and unreachable, she will start getting emotionally involved without being able to identify the exact moment it happened. The most Machiavellian point of this first stage is simple. You don't conquer directly. You generate an internal narrative inside her, where you become a valuable emotional enigma. She won't admit it, but she'll start comparing you to other men without you even asking. She'll start waiting for you in small situations, She'll start noticing when you don't show up. She'll start feeling tiny stings of disappointment when she doesn't get something from you. And that is the real beginning of seduction. Not when she smiles, not when she talks to you, but when she starts thinking about you when you're not even there. And once that happens, you've already landed the first Machiavellian strike. She thinks she's getting interested naturally, but it was you who created the emotional ground that led her there. Now, the second move of seduction that feels so easy, it almost seems illegal, is to subtly change the relationship she has with her own desire. It's not enough to spark curiosity. You need that curiosity to turn into expectation. And expectation, when handled correctly, turns into emotional need. But this transformation doesn't happen through grand gestures or dramatic lines. It happens through small, calculated hints that leave deeper psychological marks than any direct confession ever could. The goal isn't to make her like you. The goal is to install yourself in her mind as a recurring emotional stimulus. Every interaction should contain a microdose of ambiguity. You don't confirm anything, you don't deny anything, you don't give full answers. You always give her 80% and leave 20% open for interpretation. That 20% is the fuel that feeds her imagination and therefore fuels her desire. Most men don't understand this. A woman doesn't get turned on by certainty. She gets turned on by stimulating doubt. When you're too clear, she categorizes you. When you're too direct, she decodes you. And once she's certain of who you are and what you want, you become irrelevant. The Machiavellian secret is keeping that gray zone, where she feels like she understands you, but never completely. That's where obsession is born. That's where the female mind starts working on its own, creating scenarios, filling gaps, silently speculating. Now there's one move that works better than any poem: timed silence. When she says something that could reveal a deeper part of herself, you don't overreact, you don't flood her with emotion, you simply observe. Women emotionally disarm when they feel a man isn't competing for attention, but calmly observing, as if he knows time is on his side. That silence makes her wonder, what do you think? What do you feel? Why didn't you react like other men? That silence creates an emotional echo that lasts for hours. But the most effective part is this: show very specific interest and then pull back. If you listen with genuine attention when she reveals something intimate, a fear, a childish dream, a deep insecurity, and then you simply continue the conversation without trying to capitalize on her vulnerability, she becomes emotionally trapped. Why? Because you created a safe space without asking for anything in return. Something rare, almost non-existent in the emotional world of women. And once she feels that kind of safety, she starts forming an invisible bond with you. And here comes the most dangerous Machiavellian game of all: fragmented validation. You don't compliment her constantly, that bores her. But you also don't ignore her completely, that makes her run. Instead, you give small validations that feel accidental, spontaneous, almost unconscious. Something like, "That thing you said is deeper than you realize." Said at the perfect moment, this is worth more than 20 basic compliments. Controlled validation activates a simple psychological mechanism in her. She tries to get more, and the moment someone tries to get more of you, you're already controlling the board. Fragmented validation opens the door to the most powerful strategy: emotional contrast. The goal isn't to be cold, it's to subtly vary your emotional temperature. One day, you're more expressive. Another day, you're more reserved. One message from you feels warm. Next time, you're more direct and objective. That light oscillation, not extreme, not dramatic, barely noticeable, works like an emotional magnet. Women bond deeply when a man has emotional rhythm, not boring linear predictability. And once she feels that variation, she starts trying to read your phases, which turns you into an irresistible enigma. Now here comes the part that truly makes her lose control: make her feel chosen, without saying it. You don't say she's different, but your actions communicate that what comes from her get more attention. You don't overdo it. You just drop small signals like remembering a detail she mentioned days ago, anticipating a need she didn't even express yet. That creates an emotional bias in her mind. She starts believing you see her in a way no one else does, and the woman who feels uniquely seen surrenders emotionally before she even realizes it. But to maintain this effect, you can't become an open book. She needs to feel like she's progressing with you, but not too fast. When she thinks she's starting to understand you, you slightly change the angle. When she feels like she finally has a clue about you, you leave her with a new question. That feeling of, "I almost understand him, but not completely," keeps her in search mode, a deeply addictive psychological state. And this is where seduction starts to feel illegal, when she begins to feel more than she can justify, when she thinks about you before she sleeps, when she checks if you replied, when she feels disappointed for no clear reason, when she smiles alone, remembering something you said. At this point, her mind isn't analyzing you logically anymore. It's desire disguised as curiosity. And that moment is crucial. You must not rush. You must not accelerate anything. The Machiavellian seducer knows that once a woman enters that state, any sudden move can break the magic. You keep the same dose of mystery, the same strategic calm, the same partial delivery. She'll begin imagining what it would feel like to have you completely, and that fantasy will become stronger than any traditional seduction. Female desire isn't born from excess, it's born from stimulating lack. What makes you dangerous isn't what you give, it's what you withhold. That's the essence of seducing so easily it feels illegal. She believes she is choosing, but in reality, she's reacting to an emotional script you wrote in silence. The third stage of seduction that feels so easy, it seems illegal, is built on something almost no one truly masters: the art of becoming an emotional contrast compared to every other man she knows. You don't need to be more handsome than them, or richer, or more experienced. You just need to be different in a way that touches her internal wiring. A woman doesn't fall for the best man. She falls for the man who activates emotions that other men don't even know exist. Your goal is to become the emotional presence that breaks her usual pattern. Most men talk too much, explain too much, justify too much. You'll do the opposite. You'll speak less, but say what actually matters. You'll listen more, but not like a therapist trying too hard. You'll listen like a man who simply observes without needing to prove anything. That calmness, that lack of urgency, that silent confidence creates the impression that with you, time moves differently. And that different rhythm attracts her like a magnet. Because women can feel when a man is in control of himself, not in control of her, not in control of the room, but in control of himself. And that is the most discreet, powerful form of power that exists. But here's the subtle point most men don't understand. A woman connects emotionally with the man who makes her feel a calculated mixture of comfort and uncertainty. Comfort comes from your stability, your calm presence, your gentle attention. Uncertainty comes from your controlled unpredictability. You're not chaos, you're an open question. You're not a promise, you're a possibility. And possibilities are infinitely more addictive than certainty. To activate this, you must master the technique of interest without pressure. Pressure interest is desperate interest. It suffocates, it's too obvious. Machiavellian interest appears at unexpected moments. A message at the perfect time, a comment so precise it feels accidental, a look that lasts 1 second longer than normal, yet still feels natural. Those gestures softly destabilize a woman and make her wonder why you don't function like everyone else. Now here's one of the cleanest moves. Make her laugh without trying to be funny. Don't force anything. Just observe her personality enough to drop a line that matches her natural humor. Women bond with the man who understands their specific way of seeing the world. When a woman feels like she can be light with you, her emotional armor automatically drops. And when that armor drops, you become an emotional refuge she wants to return to again and again. But that still isn't enough. Now you need to create contrast with something else: strategic vulnerability. This doesn't mean telling her everything or crying on her shoulder. It means letting her see brief flashes of your humanity in very calculated moments. A vague memory from the past, a frustration you mention without dramatizing, an emotional scar you present without decoration. The key is not to go too deep. You show her something, but you don't give it to her completely. That creates in her the desire to understand you, to care for you, to get closer. And when a woman feels the need to emotionally protect a man, that man has already won an internal battle inside her. Now here comes the most Machiavellian part: the illusion of exclusive connection. You don't tell her she's different. You show her that you're not like this with just anyone. Your laughter, your gestures, your attention, your calm. Everything must feel like something she awakens in you. Nothing seduces her more than believing she inspires emotions in you that no one else can activate. That feeling is addictive. She starts to feel special, not because you declare it, but because your actions suggest it. And what is suggested always hits harder than what is stated. Now, when she starts texting faster, searching for more topics, showing more emotional openness, you must keep absolute control of the rhythm. Don't speed up just because she speeds up. Don't show urgency just because she shows urgency. Your rhythm must remain constant, calm, steady, firm. A woman needs to feel that you don't get shaken, that you don't lose your center, that you don't lose control. That stability makes you different from all the others. Because most men get anxious when a woman returns interest, but you don't. You stay the same, and that difference makes her feel like you're emotionally superior, more mature, more aware of your movements. And when she starts getting more attached, you activate the master weapon, calculated absence. Not disappearing for days. That would be obvious and low level. Instead, it's short absences, small pauses in conversation, silences that don't irritate but create a slight void. A void so small it doesn't upset her, but so precise that it makes her feel something is missing, and that something missing begins to associate itself with you. And when a woman's mind starts linking absence with desire, you're dangerously close to installing yourself in her subconscious. And this is where seduction starts to feel truly illegal. When she becomes the kind of woman who thinks of you first when something good happens and thinks of you last when something bad happens, her mind starts looking for you to share emotions, not because you're the most special, but because you created an invisible bond, soft, progressive, almost unnoticeable from the outside, but devastatingly strong from the inside. She begins to see you as a refuge, a mystery, a challenge, and calm, all at the same time. And in female psychology, that combination is pure dynamite. At this point, she's no longer analyzing if you're the right man. She's no longer evaluating qualities. She's no longer comparing. She just feels. She feels more than she can explain, more than she can control. And you remain there, in that exact space between available and unreachable, warm and distant, clear and enigmatic. That balance that looks accidental is your sharpest weapon. Because once you master it, no woman ever forgets a man like that. The fourth stage of seduction that feels so easy, it seems illegal, focuses on a skill that separates the amateur seducer from the Machiavellian seducer, the ability to become the emotional fantasy she won't admit she has. You don't need to be the man she says she wants. You need to be the man who awakens what she never says out loud. And that kind of desire is born in a territory very few people know how to move in: deep emotional suggestion. To do this, you must understand a fundamental principle. A woman doesn't surrender to the man who insists the most. She surrenders to the man who activates the most internal emotions with the least visible effort. The key is to hint, never to impose. To suggest feelings, never declare them. To make her cross the emotional bridge believing she did it willingly, when in reality, every step was guided by you. This is where the technique of soft tension enters. Not explicit sexual attention, not uncomfortable pressure, but that fine, almost invisible tension. The kind that appears when two people seem like they're about to say something important, but they don't. When eye contact lasts slightly longer, when words carry double meaning that neither person mentions. When the silence between you weighs more than the words of any other man. That tension is a catalyst for female desire. And if you know how to control it, she begins to see you as an emotional magnet she can't ignore. To activate this tension, you must master indirect conversation. You don't need to flirt openly, you just need to say things she can interpret in multiple ways. A line like, "You have no idea what you'd provoke if you wanted to," is infinitely more seductive than any direct compliment. Because it doesn't claim anything, it only drops a possibility. And possibilities are the sweetest poison in a woman's mind. She starts wondering, what did he mean? Why did he say it like that? What does he see in me? That multiplicity of interpretations creates an internal storm, a storm only you can control. But here's the most delicate part. You must avoid urgency. Urgency destroys Machiavellian seduction. When you seem too available, too excited, too invested, she loses interest. The key is to transmit the feeling that you could want more, but you don't need it. You could intensify the tension, but you don't have to. That calmness isn't passivity, it's power. It's silent dominance. The kind that makes her feel you know exactly what you're doing. And when a woman feels a man can handle emotions with precision, she surrenders without even understanding why. Now, alongside this tension, you must build another element: emotional rarity. Make her feel that access to your emotions isn't easy, that you're not someone who gives full access immediately. You're not cold, you're not distant, you're selective. You choose who gets to see your inner world. And she should feel, maybe unconsciously, that she's starting to access a side of you almost nobody knows. That feeling of emotional privilege is one of the strongest triggers of female desire. And this is where a strategically perfect move integrates emotional timing. At this stage, you begin matching her emotionally at key moments. If she's reflective, you become deeper. If she's light, you become more playful. If she's serious, you become more mysterious. You don't imitate her emotion, you complement it. That creates a spontaneous harmony, an emotional fit she won't be able to explain, but she will feel intensely. Women surrender to men they feel in sync with, even if that sync was built step by step instead of happening naturally. Now comes the secret weapon of this stage: emotional projection. You start showing her very specific versions of who you are, versions you know she will value. You're not faking, you're selecting real aspects of yourself, but with precision. If she admires sensitivity, you show sensitivity. If she values ambition, you show vision. If she values calm, you show stability. And you do it so subtly that she believes you simply match in many ways. But in reality, you're projecting the sides of you that resonate most with the kind of desire she keeps silent. But be careful, you can't reveal all those sides at once. You must reveal them gradually, as if they're discoveries she's making little by little. That discovery feeling hooks her, because it makes her believe she's seeing something in you that others don't see. And when a woman feels she has access to a secret side of you, she makes you an emotional priority. Now we reach the most Machiavellian part of this phase: emotional transfer. You must make your interactions awaken sensations she doesn't experience with other men. It's not about being perfect, it's about creating a unique emotional experience. When she starts associating you with calm, intensity, mystery, sync, complicity, you begin replacing, without her noticing, the emotional references she used to have. This silent substitution is devastating. She stops comparing you to other men because there is no comparison anymore. You represent a completely new kind of emotional stimulus. And once she starts seeking you, not for what you say, but for what you make her feel, you've crossed the most dangerous line of all. You've become an emotional necessity. At that point, she no longer interacts with you rationally. She does it from impulse, from desire, from the feeling that something is missing when you're not there. And that feeling in the female mind is almost irreversible. That's the moment your presence becomes a habit. And when a woman becomes emotionally used to a man, even slowly, even in small doses, even subtly, she binds herself to him without realizing it. That invisible bond, built through suggestion, tension, emotional timing, and selective exposure, is what makes this seduction so effective it feels illegal. Now, the fifth stage of seduction that feels so easy it seems illegal is about gently altering the emotional structure she uses to interpret your gestures. At this point, you're no longer working only with mystery, tension, or sync. Now you manipulate the internal narrative she builds about you. Because it doesn't matter who you really are, it matters who she believes you are. And that perception, if shaped correctly, becomes an emotional addiction stronger than any physical or material trait. At this stage, she's emotionally involved, even if she won't admit it. Now she wants to understand you, she wants to anticipate you, she wants to decode you, and that's exactly why you must become a partial mirror. You reflect what she projects, but never completely. You let her imagine, but you don't confirm. You let her assume, but you don't correct. You let her interpret, but you don't explain. When a woman feels there's something behind your words, something she can't fully understand, she stays. Because emotional curiosity turns into attachment when it never finds a clear answer. Now comes the most sophisticated element, the double emotional layer. What you say must have two levels, one obvious and one hinted, barely perceptible. She should feel your sentences have depth, that your silence has intention, that your gaze carries a message you never put into words. This double layer isn't improvised, it's built through rhythm. You speak calmly, you pause when she doesn't expect it, you observe before answering. That small delay creates the illusion that you're thinking something deeper than what you're saying, something she can't fully see. And that illusion alone becomes a powerful emotional trigger. But you must reinforce that perception with another move, selective emotional coherence. You're not perfect, you're stable. You're not cold, you're controlled. You're not invasive, you're present. She must feel your energy doesn't shift because of external factors, that you don't break easily, that you don't lose control. Women are attracted to men whose emotional center stays intact even when the environment changes. And the more she perceives you as that type of man, the more she sees you as rare, scarce, and valuable. Now it's time to plant a devastatingly effective feeling, that there is something in you she hasn't earned yet. You don't need to say it, you just behave like your emotional world is deep, but not fully accessible. She feels she's progressed with you, that she already has something, but not everything. That almost but not completely feeling is the softest and most dangerous poison. Because what we don't fully have, we desire more, and what we desire more, we idealize. In this stage, you become the almost. You're not impossible, you're not distant, you're not unreachable, you're simply not fully available immediately. You stay in that exact zone between possible and uncertain. She's already received enough signals to know there's chemistry, connection, interest, tension, but not enough to feel like she owns you, and that lack of control makes her keep investing emotionally without realizing it. Now you use another Machiavellian tool, progressive emotional investment. You give her moments of intense connection. Deep lines, unexpected attention, looks that feel like they reveal something intimate, and then you return to your usual calm. It's not a sudden disappearing act, it's a flow. Intensity comes and goes like an emotional tide. When it's present, it softly intoxicates her. When it pulls away, it leaves her craving more. A woman who feels each interaction might bring a new discovery, starts waiting for you, anticipating you, needing you. Now comes the most dangerous part of all, the gaze that doesn't speak, but promises, not a dramatic, explicit, lustful stare. A calm, slow gaze that holds for 1 second longer than normal, and feels like it's saying, if you wanted to, we could go much further. That silent suggestion hits straight into her emotional system. It doesn't claim, it doesn't propose, it doesn't demand, it only opens a possibility. And female desire lives in possibilities. When she starts becoming more open, when she shares more intimate details, when she reaches out at specific moments, when she mentions things she remembered about you, you must activate the next step. Affectionate consistency without saturation. You're there, but never too much. You reply, but not immediately. You're warm, but not overly sweet. You're attentive, but not submissive. Your consistency creates safety. Your moderation creates desire, and that combination is deadly. At this point, you're no longer competing with other men. They disappear from her emotional stage. Not because you're objectively superior, but because the emotional intensity you create is unique. A woman doesn't attach to the best man. She attaches to the man who awakens emotions no one else can awaken. And now you're already awakening contradictory sensations inside her, calm and restlessness, closeness and distance, certainty and doubt. That mix creates emotional dependence. She no longer wonders if she wants to talk to you, she wonders when you will talk to her. She no longer evaluates if you're interesting. She wonders why you make her feel this way. She no longer thinks about who you are, she thinks about who she becomes when she's with you. And that is the dirtiest Machiavellian secret applied to seduction. A woman doesn't become addicted to you. She becomes addicted to the version of herself that you awaken. And when she becomes addicted to that internal version, you're no longer an option. You become an emotional need she can't replace easily. Now the sixth and final stage of seduction that feels so easy it seems illegal is where the game becomes invisible. At this point, you don't need calculated moves anymore, no suggestive lines, no strategic silence, no long stares. All of that has already produced a deep effect. Now your job is to consolidate the position you conquered inside her emotional system. Because seduction isn't capturing her attention for a few days. Seduction is installing yourself in her mind so deeply that even if she wanted to pull away, she couldn't. Machiavelli didn't talk about controlling bodies. He talked about controlling perceptions. And when you control a woman's perception of you, you control the desire she feels. At this stage, she has already built an internal narrative where you hold a specific place. You're not the perfect man, because perfection creates distance. But you're also not completely accessible, because accessibility creates boredom. You are the man she feels she knows, but not completely. The man who calms her, but also disturbs her. The man who can make her laugh, but also make her think. The man who appears with surgical precision, leaving emotional breadcrumbs she collects without noticing. You are the stable contradiction that keeps her emotionally hooked. Your role now is to reinforce that balance without breaking it. You must give her more emotions, but not all of them. More presence, but not constant. More depth, but not complete emotional nakedness. She should feel she has come far with you, that she has a place, that she has progressed, but that there is still something more to discover. Women aren't turned on by what they already have, but by what they believe they could still obtain. That infinite possibility is your final weapon. Now the crucial step is activating what Machiavelli would call the implicit emotional pact. It's not an agreement, not a promise, not a declaration. It's something she feels without you saying it. That there is a connection between you two that is different from everything she experiences with other men. You don't need to verbalize it. In fact, verbalizing it would be clumsy. It's enough in the way you look at her when she says something deep. The pause before you respond when she shows vulnerability. The way you remember small things she mentioned casually. That hits her harder than any words. Because the strongest proof isn't what you say. It's the silent evidence that you notice details no one else sees. A woman who feels seen, feels chosen, and a woman who feels chosen surrenders without realizing it. Now you must reinforce another devastating psychological mechanism, selective emotional interdependence. Meaning, you show that you trust her in certain areas, but not in all. You share some stories, but keep others. You reveal parts of your world, but you keep some zones private. She feels like she entered your life, but she also feels there are still closed rooms she can't access yet. That mix of access and barrier is addictive. It's the emotional version of craving something you almost have, but never completely. And that feeling is what makes her stay. But this final stage requires something even more sophisticated, the creation of emotional rituals. Small patterns that repeat between you two and create silent belonging. It could be an inside joke, a phrase only you two understand, a specific way of saying goodbye, a gesture that always happens at certain moments. Rituals light up the female mind because they create the illusion of something shared. When she feels there is an us, even if it's small, her hidden imagination does the rest. The most Machiavellian part is this. Rituals don't look like strategy, they look like spontaneity, but you guide them. You don't force them, you allow them to happen, and then you reinforce them. She laughs. You repeat the joke days later. She mentions something. You bring it back in another context. She notices, smiles. And that small emotional reinforcement triggers continuity. And continuity in the female mind translates into bond. Now comes the most dangerous part, persistent emotional presence. It's not being physically there. It's not talking every day. It's a presence that remains even when you're gone. It's when she hears a phrase and thinks how you would respond. When she sees something and remembers you once said something similar. When she feels an emotion and instantly imagines what you would say. That's how your image becomes embedded into her emotional system. You stop being one option. You become a reference. And once you become the reference, the game is won. Because a woman doesn't attach to men, she attaches to emotions certain men awaken. You've already installed the precise combination of mystery, calmness, tension, synchronicity, and emotional rarity. Now you need the final strike, the illusion of deep reciprocity. This doesn't mean confessing love. This doesn't mean saying you feel the same. It means showing, at extremely specific moments, that she also managed to cross some of your barriers. You make her feel that out of everyone. She is one of the few who gets access to your emotional intimacy. And you do it through a minimal gesture, almost accidental, a sudden confession, unexpected vulnerability, a personal comment you don't share with anyone else. That kind of revelation, rare, precise, unique, destroys her emotionally, because it makes her feel like she's not a visitor, but someone who holds a reserved place. And the woman who feels that stops being afraid. She surrenders, not to you, but to the connection she believes exists, a connection you carefully built. But listen closely, this revelation can't be too big. You cannot open up completely. If you give everything, mystery dies. If you give too much, tension dies. The revelation should be enough to make her feel special, but not enough to satisfy her. You give her a key, but not to the main room. She must feel she advanced, but not that she arrived, and this is the point where seduction becomes irreversible. She no longer thinks if you're her type. She no longer evaluates if she should let you into her life. She no longer wonders if it's worth it. She doesn't admit it, but she simply feels that something in you calls her, stabilizes her, excites her, calms her, confuses her, and completes her. You become a living contradiction, an emotional duality no other man offers, and it's that contradiction that keeps her attached. Then comes the final Machiavellian move, the final emotional anchor. You create a moment with her, not grand, not cinematic, not exaggerated, but a moment so authentic, so intimate, so unexpected that her mind registers it as decisive. It could be a deep conversation at 3 a.m. It could be a long, silent gaze. It could be one sentence that proves you understand her more than she ever imagined. Or it could be something as simple as touching her hand at the exact moment she needed calm, without you even knowing it. That instant becomes the emotional root of everything she feels afterward. And a woman never forgets a man who created a root moment. Never. Once that anchor forms, seduction no longer needs strategy. On some deep level, she is already emotionally yours. Everything else becomes a natural consequence. She looks for you, desires you, analyzes you, waits for you, compares you, idealizes you. And even if she tries to hide it, resist it, act strong, she can't uninstall you. Because seducing so easily it feels illegal isn't about conquering a body. It's about conquering a space inside the female mind that nobody else occupies. That is the final victory of the Machiavellian seducer. He seduces with silence, with the calmness of a man who doesn't need to prove anything. That is the first lesson Machiavelli would teach you if he were alive today, watching the chaos of modern desire. Because power isn't in the word you say, but in the word you hold back. When a woman feels she can't read your intentions, her mind starts spinning, searching for meaning inside your mystery. And that's where real attraction is born, not from the body, but from the enigma. The common man's mistake is giving everything too fast: his intentions, his admiration, his devotion. Machiavelli would call it the political suicide of desire, because anything given without effort loses value. And every woman, even the most confident, desires what feels dangerous, forbidden, unreachable. According to Machiavelli, seduction isn't a dance of words. It's a dance of power. It's not about conquering a body. It's about controlling an invisible balance between desire and fear. The key isn't saying, "I love you." It's making her fear losing you. Every gesture, every pause, every look must contain a calculated dose of uncertainty. Don't show her you need her. Show her you could live without her, but you choose not to. That voluntary choice is the sweetest poison. It's the illusion of free will in a game where you write the rules, because what a woman fears most isn't rejection. It's losing emotional control over a man who seems immune to her charm. Emotional Machiavellianism doesn't seek love. It seeks influence. It's not cruelty, it's strategy. Understand this: desire is a war of perceptions. She must see you as a force that can't be fully controlled, like a fire that warms, but can also burn. Let her imagine, let her assume, let her doubt. Never try to convince her of anything. Make her reach the conclusions you want, on her own, because the moment you try to seduce her directly, you lose. But if she believes she was the one who chose you, you win. Machiavelli would say, whoever controls the illusion controls the soul. That's why the real seducer doesn't conquer. He invites others to conquer him. A woman doesn't surrender to the strongest man, she surrenders to the one who feels inevitable. And what's inevitable isn't chased, it's felt, it's sensed. That's why attraction is a game of contrasts. Be light and shadow, interest and distance. Listen to her deeply, then disappear for hours. Make her laugh, then look at her with cold calmness. Confuse her, but don't destroy her. Because in that confusion, desire blooms. When the mind can't explain, the instinct awakens. And once instinct takes over, you've already won. Machiavelli knew this. Love without strategy is just luck, and luck is the enemy of power. Now the second key, controlled vulnerability. Don't present yourself as perfect. Present yourself as human, but disciplined. Tell her a story where you got hurt, but let her see you learned from it. That triggers her empathy and her curiosity. She'll believe she can heal you, when in reality, you've only given her the illusion of rescue. In the female mind, desire ignites right at the point where tenderness and danger touch. So don't fear showing your shadows, just make sure your shadows are beautiful. The Machiavellian seducer doesn't seek approval. He understands attraction is born from detachment. The more you try to be liked, the less value you have. But if you can pull back right when she starts getting close, you force her to move toward you. And that movement, that female initiative, is the moment power changes hands. That's when conquest stops being physical and becomes psychological. She'll believe she's deciding, but you already decided in silence. And the beauty of this strategy is, it doesn't require direct manipulation, only emotional mastery. Machiavelli would say, the appearance of freedom is more effective than freedom itself. Because deep down, seduction isn't conquering hearts, it's controlling the narrative of desire. It's making her live the story you wrote, without realizing it. Every message, every silence, every look must have a precise function to create doubt, intrigue, or admiration. If you combine all three, you become unforgettable. Not because you're perfect, but because you represent what her mind can't solve. And what can't be solved gets replayed. That's how obsessions are born. The man who masters ambiguity has more power than the man who masters words. When she can't define you, her mind starts working for you, analyzing you, interpreting you, trying to understand. Was what he said a signal or a game? And while she searches for meaning, she's already emotionally involved. That is the essence of Machiavellian seduction, not trapping her, but provoking the desire to understand you. Because nobody can resist a mystery that feels purposeful. If you're too clear, curiosity dies. If you're too distant, emotion cools down. But if you stay in the middle, close and far at the same time, you become magnetic. Machiavelli taught that power is maintained by balance between fear and love. In seduction, it's the same principle. She must feel she could lose you at any moment, but also feel that you could keep going without her. That duality creates perfect tension. It's not about playing with feelings, it's about awakening what was asleep, because desire needs danger. If everything feels safe, the soul doesn't vibrate. A touch of risk is the perfume of love. So when you speak, leave pauses. When you look at her, hold eye contact 1 second longer than normal. She must sense something in you she can't understand, but that pushes her to want to discover it. That's the magic of control without looking controlling. It feels spontaneous, even though everything is calculated. Don't chase her. Let time work in your favor. One well-placed silence is worth more than 1,000 promises. If she doesn't respond, don't insist. Emptiness is a power tool because the mind is forced to fill in the gaps. She'll start imagining reasons, justifying your distance, creating versions of you inside her head. And what people imagine is always stronger than reality. Let her idealize you a little, but never let her fully possess you. Possession kills desire. Illusion feeds it. Be real enough to touch her, but ethereal enough that she can never fully capture you. And when you finally stand in front of her, don't speak about love. Speak about destiny. Don't say, "I love you." Say, "I don't know why, but there's something about you I can't ignore. That phrase doesn't commit. It suggests. It doesn't tie her down. It opens her up. The language of the Machiavellian seducer is poetic, but strategic. Every word must sound like it comes from the soul, while being designed to produce a specific reaction. Because emotions aren't controlled through force, they're guided through intelligence. She must feel everything is flowing naturally while you maintain invisible control of the current. That's how Machiavelli would make her fall, not with flowers, but with uncertainty. And if she ever asks you what you feel, don't answer immediately. Smile, look at her, and say something like, "I don't know. With you, everything feels dangerous and beautiful at the same time." That ambiguity disarms her. She can't fight what she doesn't understand. Desire becomes a mirror where she sees her reflection mixed with yours, and without realizing it, she gives you more than attention. She gives you emotional power. There is no deeper conquest than that, because the body can resist, but the mind cannot. When she starts thinking about you without wanting to. The battle is already won. The Machiavellian seducer doesn't seek approval because he knows fascination is born from contrast. If you're always available, you become routine, but if you appear and disappear with elegance, you become memory and expectation. Every return becomes a small victory, because time absent magnifies you. Don't be afraid to be a little unreachable. The forbidden is gasoline for desire. Just make sure your coldness has purpose, that your distance isn't punishment, but strategy. Because when a woman feels she has to earn your attention, she starts valuing it. And when attention becomes a reward, you become the prize. Machiavelli would say perfect seduction is the one where the other person believes they have control. So don't manipulate, guide. Don't demand, inspire. Don't beg for love, provoke curiosity. The most difficult women don't fall for pretty words, they fall for inexplicable energy. And that energy comes from one thing, the internal certainty that you need nothing. When a man vibrates in self-sufficiency, he becomes magnetic. Because he transmits something rare in today's world, emotional stability. That stability is desire disguised as calm. She feels that with you, she can lose herself without being destroyed. And to the female mind, that's addictive. Finally, remember, seducing easily isn't abusing power, it's understanding how it works. Machiavelli would never advise cruelty, he would advise emotional wisdom. Seduction is like ruling. You must know when to move forward and when to pull back, when to speak and when to remain silent. The woman who seems distant today may surrender tomorrow without knowing why. Not because you tricked her, but because you made her feel something no one else knew how to awaken, the mixture of admiration, mystery, and desire. At that point, what started as a game becomes fascination, and when she says, "I don't know what you have," you'll know you've won the oldest war in the world, the war of the human soul.